Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to welcome you to today's session, Accelerate Decisions with a Data Warehouse for your ERP and beyond. Today's session is presented by Joni Girardi from DataSelf, and I'm going to let him tell you about himself in just a minute. But before that, we have just a couple logistics to go over before we dive in. So on this next slide, you can see that everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, that does not mean we do not want to hear from you throughout today's session. So if you've seen in the chat, we'd love to know where you're joining from. I see we've got California, Indiana, Arizona, some other people on the West Coast. Love to hear. I'm in Loveland, Colorado, new move for me. So great to hear some other people know people that live in a Loveland. So definitely want to hear where you're joining us from. Anything else, any questions you have during the sessions, you can put those questions into the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can put them in the chat. Either way, I'll find them and we'll make sure that we get those questions asked to Joni at the end of the presentation. This session is also being recorded, so we will send the recording out to you whether you are joining us live or you're watching us, at a later date on the recording. That'll come to your email tomorrow afternoon. We'll also put this recording on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is a great place to find our recorded webinars, other tutorials, how-to videos, other software solutions that you might find interesting. So just a great resource and something to check out. Then we'll also have a couple polls throughout the session. We'd love to hear from you in the polls. Tell us a little bit more about your situation. That will help us, tailor today's live presentation more towards you and your business and the audience we have with us today. So with that said, we're going to, dive right in, and I'm going to bring Joni on stage to introduce himself.
Thank you, Courtney, for the introduction. And thank you all for being part of this webinar. A big thanks to SWK for the opportunity. Again, my name is Joni Girardi. I'm a big data geek. I was a software engineer in my early career, became a business person, and for the past 20 plus years, I've been helping mid-sized organizations make more informed decisions from their digital systems. This is my license plate. It reads Data Geek. When I showed to my teenager daughter a few years ago, when I got the plate, she read, "What? Date? A geek?" And I cracked up. Yeah, that works too. I'm single, but no, really, this is Data Geek, and that's what I am. So before we jump into the presentation, Courtney is going to lead this poll. Courtney?
Yes, so I promised polls and we're jumping right in. So those polls are going to be launched in just a moment. We have 3 of them. We're asking a couple different questions. And so I'm going to leave those running and we'll kind of, talk through what everyone's hearing so that we can tailor that presentation. So those should be launched now in the right-hand side of your screen. We have a couple different ones. So the first one, is what's your interest in data warehousing? So, maybe you came to this webinar because you've already heard about this before and, you're looking at implementation or looking to expand and replace, or maybe this is your first time really hearing that term and you're just here for education. The second poll that we've got launched is, what is your main data analysis pain? So, is there one that really stands out to you, or did you read that list and say, oh, all of these apply to us? And then finally, does your organization have in-house data warehousing expertise? So thank you for everyone that's, answering the polls so far. I'm going to leave them open for a minute while you think through it. I know we've got a lot of them going on right now. So, Joni,
Courtney, just and the answers will help me because in my content I can focus a little bit more based on the answers, so it's very helpful when people answer the polls.
Yes, we love the poll. We promise we're not just taking your time up for no reason. We're going to dive right in just a moment. So Joni, so far when we're looking at the first one, what's your interest in data warehousing? It looks like 100% across the board right now. We've got people saying education, so you're in the right place. And then when we're looking at what's your main data analysis pain, you know, I think I could have expected this one once we put the option in there, but it's all of the above for some people. So can be hard to choose a main one. And then when we look at, you know, does your organization have in-house data warehousing expertise? We're also 100% across the board with needs help. So I think that's a situation a lot of people probably find themselves in.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep moving on, but we'll leave those polls open throughout. You can respond to them at any time. You know, always love to hear from you.
Awesome. I really appreciate all the answers. Courtney, thanks for summarizing the results. This will help me take the conversation in this direction. We'll talk about data analysis reporting challenges. We'll talk about the benefits of data warehousing. We'll go through a demo. We'll talk about, you know, the investment data warehousing, how it works. We should take about 30, 35, 40 minutes perhaps to cover the contents, and we should have plenty of time, hopefully, for questions and answers. So let's get it going. And by the way, the content we're going to be covering today pretty much works with any kind of industry, any kind of vertical. Doesn't matter if you're a construction company, distribution, manufacturing, pretty much data warehousing. We have clients in many different industries. So it's the same concept that applies no matter what your kind of business is. So let's talk about first the challenges, probably why you are here today. And usually data warehousing, when people embrace the data warehousing, is because they're having challenges with reporting and data analysis, you know, making reports, dashboards, trying to provide decision makers with informed decisions. And usually the most common challenge that people complain is reports take just too much effort. A lot of people, a lot of hours, it's just too hard. Sometimes some reports, when you press the refresh button, show me the latest data, can take too long. What is too long? A minute, an hour, a day, it doesn't matter. Usually tell if it's taking more than 10 seconds to run the report, when you press refresh button, that's too long. So slow running reports a big challenge. Multiple data silos. You have your ERP, probably you have a payroll system, I don't know, Google Analytics, POS, project accounting, whatever it is. Multiple data silos, and you need to see data across all of them, and usually it's challenging. When you see some information, some KPIs, some dashboard, a chart, you want to drill down easily, quickly, and quite often people can't, or it's very hard. Sometimes you look at two reports that are supposed to have the same numbers, and the numbers don't match. You know, the data is conflicting. Overall, trying to see, you know, your KPIs, having a visibility across the business, and it's very hard. So those challenges are the most common. And even what should you be measuring? Sometimes what you don't know about your business is more important than what you know. So what should we be measuring? High level, these are the biggest challenges that people, you know, start to face, and data warehousing can be, or many times is, the solution. So how data warehousing addresses each one of those topics that I'm still keeping on the left kind of grayed out. So first of all, with data warehousing approach, a big chunk of the manual processes involved in reports, like, you know, exporting, manipulating, crunching, validating, can be completely automated by data warehousing. Lots of steps completely automated. You know, with on average, 80% of the time people spend in prepping the data manually before data warehousing becomes automated with data warehousing. Very, very efficient. Speed, once you press the refresh button of a report, not only you automated the report, but when you press refresh, usually it runs in seconds. Our benchmark is no matter how much data you have, no matter how many companies you have, how many data silos you have, when you press refresh, you want to see the results in seconds, and usually under 10 seconds, and data warehousing usually deliver on that, no matter how complex your reporting needs are. Data silo consolidation, you know, you can see in a single report, in a single dashboard, data coming from your ERP, from your CRM, from your payroll, from your resource management tool, from a project accounting, from Google Analytics. No matter what the data is, data warehousing can bring it all together. And you can do what's called infinite drill down. Let's say that you have an e-commerce system that you can see people going to your cart. Eventually, you can see what they're ordering in the e-commerce, and then you can see what's happening, how the data is going into your ERP for shipment, and then it becomes an invoice, it becomes a receivable, becomes a payment, becomes money in the cash, money in the bank. All those data points are usually disconnected in regular systems. With data warehousing, you can start from one data point, go across all of your data silos, like it's all of your data, which is really is all of your data consolidated in a single solution. So infinite drill down. If you have conflicting data, numbers don't match. Data warehousing has an approach where you define the single version of the truth, how you calculate your revenues, how you calculate your expenses, how you calculate your gross profit, is a single place to define this rule. And when you run reports, when you dashboards, you're pulling the data from that single location, and all of them will show the same numbers, no matter what report you're looking at in Excel, maybe on a dashboard. They all should be showing the same information because of the data warehousing single version of the truth functionality. Because data warehousing can consolidate multiple silos, we have the easy concept of the 360-degree views. The demo shows some examples. No matter what your role is, you can see all of your data, no matter where it comes from, together and from the high-level KPIs. Then it's easy to use the infinite drill down to go into the details and see why the numbers are great or the numbers are not good. And finally, with DataSelf, we also have an extensive library of KPIs, for AP, for AR, for GL, inventory, project accounting, purchase orders, sales orders, CRM, payroll, that on day one, if you go with DataSelf, your data warehouse will give you lots of visibility that probably today you're not paying attention to, into many metrics to help you make more informed decisions now, not in weeks or months from now. So those are the high level benefits of data warehousing. Now, why that your reporting platform, your ERPs, your CRMs are causing those pains or the reporting challenges? So right now, I'm just going to talk very high level. On the left, we have a few source systems like, Sage ERP, Acumatica, e-commerce. It doesn't matter. You have some systems. And pretty much decision makers want to get information from the systems, usually reports, to see the big numbers and find the why. And usually the challenges, everything that I showed before is right here showing, if you're just using native reporting from multiple systems, is usually very time consuming, it's slow, multiple data silos, limited drill down, those things that is just the nature of these source systems. Very commonly, people add Excel. And when they add Excel to this puzzle, they export the data from the system, they put an Excel file, they crunch the data, they come with some new reports and dashboards, and it's better. Yeah, it's better. But usually, it's still a lot of work, still slow, limited drill down. You're not covering all the data silos. So Excel makes it better, but doesn't really solve the fundamental issues. Well, sometimes people say, okay, let's put more tools. And these are more examples of, data visualization tools that take Excel to the next level. Tools like, Power BI, Microsoft Fabric, Tableau. There's also Domo, Looker, and whatnot. Same thing, is better. You have more capabilities. But quite often, again, still the same issues. The same issues as you put these more tools, pretty much you don't solve. And why? Why you don't solve it? Because it's missing a data warehouse. Since the people that I hear here from the polls is not apparently very experts in data warehousing, I'm going to try to keep the conversation higher level. But primarily when you add a data warehouse, you're putting a new step in the process. And quite often when you put a new step in the process, sometimes people think, it's going to be more complicated. But actually with the data warehousing, is a technology designed to take data from digital systems like, ERP, CRM, payroll, analytics, project accounting, and make it optimized for reporting. And when you take this optimized data for reporting into your data visualization tools like Excel, Tableau, Power BI, then you start to get amazing benefits. Reports become automated, reports run in seconds. The data silos now are no longer separate. All of their data is inside of the same data repository, which is the data warehouse. And all this data is together, no matter where it comes from, is your business data. It has your customers, your vendors, your employees, your activities all together, and all the data can be connected together, allowing you the infinite drill down. So you can go from one table to another, to another, to another, just next, click, click, and it becomes easy to go across no matter where the data is coming from. Our data warehousing, I'm going to be showing in a minute, is AI powered. We're about to release a new version that uses AI, and I'm going to be showing a little bit of how AI makes data warehousing easier, faster, more automated. So high-level benefits of data warehousing. Now with DataSelf, we also have what's called the DFT modeling. That means dimension, fact, and time modeling. And the idea is usually companies analyze their AP, their AR, their GL, their sales, their purchasing, their inventory, their project accounting, their payroll. And when you go into a data warehousing and BI solution, enterprise BI solution, if you don't use DataSelf, you have to start the project from scratch. And if you start the project from scratch, it can take a while, sometimes weeks, months, even years for the companies to start from scratch and find which tables they need to pull from the ERP and from the CRM and from the payroll, how to link them, how to do reports. Well, with DataSelf, we have the DFT layer that plugs and play into popular ERP, CRM, and payroll systems like Sage, Acumatica, and some competitors. And right off the box, once we plug and play, you'll have single version of the truth for your financials, for your receivables, for your sales, purchasing, and whatnot. There are multiple 360-degree views built into the framework. As I mentioned, there are thousands of reports and dashboards that plug and play in day one. And all of this framework allows you in the long term to help with the modeling. If one day you outgrow your ERP, maybe you're using a legacy ERP and we go to a modern one, or maybe you're outgrowing your mid-market ERP, going to a bigger one, this DFT layer allows you to change and upgrade your source systems, sometimes with no pain in the reporting layer. So some very interesting concept that I'm not going to go too deep today because it's a high-level overview. So having said that, I'm going to jump into the product presentation. And this is primarily the DataSelf main framework. We can pull data from any system, and I'm going to show a little bit about that. Doesn't matter what your system it is, we can get data from your system into a SQL data warehousing, and then you can use different data visualization tools to view reports and dashboards. I'm going to be pretty much focusing on Tableau and Power BI. Excel and others work similarly. And because the audience seems to be a mix of business and techies, I'm going to spend the first 5 minutes showing a little bit of the end result. So first, I'm not going to be showing much about the back-end data warehouse. I'm going to show the end result on the reporting, how people get the benefit. But then I'm going to make some use cases on the report per se, in how the data warehousing solves those problems very elegantly and very beautifully. So I'm going to spend a few minutes on the front end and I'm going to show the back end. So let me switch gears here. And let me just reload this page. So what I'm showing you now is actually, I'm going to show you 3 reports that are very common to people who use leveraging data warehouse behind the scenes. So the first one is a very simple one, is a grid report, but I want to show you the capabilities that allow decision makers to be self-sufficient. These reports can be embedded in your ERP, can be outside, can be mobile devices, but the point is the ease of use and the speed. So right here, I'm looking at a certain year in a certain period, sales by my items. let's say, hey, and even if you have a ton of data behind your sales, if you want to drill down from the year down to the months, when you expand your year, just click the plus signal, it drill down to the months in seconds, no matter how much data you have, and now you're seeing sales by item in that period. If you just want to see a few periods, you can quickly change the filter to go down to a small subset, and quick and easy, you go there. If you want to break down this by more detail, you can easily drill down, the infinite drill down. So from year, from item, now I'm seeing by customer. So sales by item by customer. I can keep on drilling down and picking another options. Maybe now I want to see the warehouse that I ship the products. Very quickly, very easily, things render in seconds. And you're looking at sales. This could be looking at financials, could be looking at your inventory, at your payroll. Pretty much you pick and choose the metrics that you want to see in the report. All of these things is configurable. All of these things can be changed. You press apply and you get the results in seconds. So this is just how data warehousing behind the scenes make drill down easy, how it makes reports run fast. Some of our largest clients running this kind of report, they have 100 million rows in their sales or GL transactions. And when they do this analysis, things run in seconds because the data warehouse is feeding this framework in an efficient way to run things in seconds. So very, not flashy, just great, but powerful. Now I'm going to go to the opposite side of the analytics in showing a 360-degree view of getting data out of the data warehouse. This dashboard is busy, but just to give you the concept, on the left side, let's say that I'm the CFO, I see leading metrics, some of them coming from, the ERP system, like cash flow projection, some information coming from the ERP or from the CRM, some information coming from my workforce management tools, checking my people available to my work, and what kind of items I have demand to fulfill. So all of this information on the left is coming from multiple systems, giving me leading metrics about the future and how I can get prepared for them. The center panel is just financial information from the ERP in goals, in budget information. So just ERP/budget information. On the right panel, I have other data silos like a POS system, e-commerce system, Google Analytics, payroll. It doesn't matter. It's data coming from multiple data silos in my organization. They come all together in the data warehouse, and then they feed a dashboard. This is an example of a CFO kind of dashboard. And as a CFO, for instance, if I look at this dashboard daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, and if everything is good, okay, I got the perspective, I go about my day, but maybe not. Maybe my cash flow has some kind of issues. I want to analyze the cash flow. Here comes infinite drill down. When I click in my cash flow and I see what's happening here, now just click on it. I go into the details of that widget. And now I got a bigger chart in this example with all the transactions on the right that show me what's happening with my cash flow, everything that affects my cash flow. And if I choose a specific data point, I just want to see what's happening this day. On the right, the spreadsheet is going to summarize to only show me specifically what happened with the data point. Very quick, very easy to do the drill down. Now, what I'm showing you is not really the data warehousing per se, because the data warehousing is working behind the scenes. But now let's talk about data warehousing, how the data warehousing make this happen, and how the data warehousing can solve real problems. And I'm going to give an example right now. This dashboard here, cash flow projection, is an out-of-the-box report that we have for multiple ERP systems, Sage ERP, Acumatica ERP, many other ERPs that we have. This dashboard plugs and play on day one. And let's say that's being deployed for your company, and your CFO opens this report on day one. And they look at these numbers, they can see the cash on hand today, what's coming from AR, what's coming from a sales order, what's going to, for open payables and payroll. And then you can see all the numbers in the projection, which is the black line. Now the CFO looks at this, yeah, all this makes sense, but where are my POs? Where are my purchase orders? I'm going to be receiving purchase orders in the near future. They'll become bills with, terms, and then I have to pay them. Can someone please add purchase orders to my cash flow projection? Well, I'm going to show you as I go into the back end how this problem can be solved quickly by the end user without calling the BI experts, let's say from DataSelf. So keep that in mind as I now jump into the product presentation, how it works behind the scenes. So now I'm going to show the actual data warehousing, and I was talking about the ETL functionality. This is ETL. So this kind of, this is, for the next 10 minutes, we're going to get a little technical. So those of you who are business, maybe it's going to be a little bit too much, but I'm going to try to keep it very high level. So this is the ETL tool. ETL is an extraction, transformation, and loading tool. It gets data from your systems, put into the data warehouse, and prepares for easy analysis. And here in the top left, I see you have source systems. We do what is called mirroring. We take the data from your source systems that is not very efficient for reporting. We mirror that data in a data warehouse. Then we transform, meaning the tool transform the data into a format that is easy, fast for reporting. And then external tools are plugged, like Excel, Power BI, Tableau, Domo, whatever it is, they are plugged into this framework to easily and quickly render the information. In that, what I was showing before, I was showing Power BI and kind of Tableau render information, but I'm going to show how the data comes from the source, how the data is mirrored, how the data is transformed, and how the data eventually becomes part of a report that is easy and fast. So let me show how it's mirrored. I'm going to expand the bottom left section here. In all of these yellow boxes, they are the mirroring step. In my sample database, in my sample demo here, I have Acumatica as a source system. If you have Sage or NetSuite, whatever, then would be, your ERP. You might have some Excel files with budgeting, quotas, whatever. Payroll sometimes comes from CSV, sometimes comes from ADP automatically. You might have e-commerce, but pretty much you have a mirroring step that takes your data from the digital system and put it in the data warehouse. If I expand this ERP source here, it shows me what tables we're bringing from ERP into the data warehouse. So these are just tables that automatically are refreshed. And if you need to add more tables, you just click add more tables. And then the system will give you the options of all the tables available in your source system. If it's Acumatica or ERP, all the data is available in the source system, all the tables that are already in your reporting platform. And if you need to add some, you just come over here and you tell add different tables, and you press apply, and the tool will click quickly and add the tables to the data warehouse. So right now, when I did this, I added, and now they show as in green, these tables has just been added. No code, you don't need to understand APIs and all those things. It's just select it, submit, you get them. If you want to see the code, what is actually ETL doing behind the scenes, then you can choose, let's say, a table, and you can see on the right the more sophisticated coding. What are the columns available? What are the format? What is the select? You don't need to know, but in case you need to use the low code, full code functionality of DataSelf, you just go about and you have full access to it. So very straightforward. Now, on the bottom, after the mirroring, we have the transformation layer. I'm going to expand the transformation. In the transformation is where we have the DFT layer, dimension, fact, and time. I'm not going to go too deep here now because it can be too technical, but for those of you who want to learn more about how the DFT layer makes long-term maintenance and speed of faster reports, a big chunk of the magic is done in the DFT layer. And finally, how you want to refresh your data, how you want to see your data, you can tell Tableau, Power BI, and Excel, how we connect to them. There are ways you can manage that connection. and eventually you tell how when you want to refresh your reports automatically, every night, every hour, over the weekends. You set schedules, you run them, and the whole system becomes completely automated. So this is a very high level overview of the steps of ETL. Now what I'm going to show you, when I was showing the cash flow projection, how can we solve the problem of a CFO asked to add purchase order to the cash flow? How can be done in ETL Plus? This ETL Plus that I'm showing is a new release. It's going to come out next quarter. So I'm showing you behind the scenes what's coming up. And it's going to have an AI functionality that today is not available. I'm going to show you how amazing this AI functionality is. If the CFO on day one tells, can you please open the add purchase order to my cash flow, and they call us to say, hey, how can you guys add purchase order to my cash flow? We're going to tell them back, who is your person who is maintaining your, deploy your data warehouse? Oh, is the business analyst, is the report writer. We're going to tell, hey, person doing that, I know you haven't opened your ETL Plus. Just go to this URL, log into your ETL Plus, and click the ETL AI button, this one here, and just ask the tool for what you want in plain English, and see if the tool will give you the answer. And that's the magic. Imagine, adding modeling cash flow projection. That's usually not simple. Without AI, that's usually weeks of people talking, scoping it out, sometimes making SOWs, negotiating, paying, eventually executing. Usually, modeling data cash flow projection is done in weeks. With the AI, I'm going to press the AI button. I'm going to write in plain English here, add purchase order to my cash flow projection. And when I press enter, and this is got a little bit more technical, but let me explain what's happening. This AI agent knows what's called the modeling of the data warehouse, what ERP system that you have, what you currently have in your data warehouse, if you have AP, AR, GL. It kind of analyzes all of this metadata, not your data, not your transaction, but the metadata, and it looks what's being modeled in your BI solution in data warehouse. And assuming it finds the data points, it will tell you what you need to change and where you need to change in the ETL to add purchase order to your cash flow. So this got a little technical. So yes, you need to be technical to understand what the BI tool is doing, but 90% of what it would take to solve that problem is right here, done in seconds. You still need to know how to take this and insert into the ETL process. In the future, this will be automated. Right now, you still have to do some extra steps, but 90% of the problem is answered in seconds, helped by the AI tool. And once you do this, you copy and paste, you fine tune certain things, and you refresh it. Pretty much, you can call the CFO. CFO, just reload your page, and the purchase order would be added to this cash flow. Pretty much, kind of no code, simple, and without calling for experts to do modeling on the back end. So amazing AI functionality coming online next quarter to help people do data warehousing in a much more efficient and no-code approach. All right, so that was the presentation. Let me move forward and give you some high-level tech benefits of the data warehousing. First of all, it is a cloud, hybrid, or on-premises deployment. You decide where your data warehouse is going to be. If you don't want to host it, we can host it for you. If you want to host on your own on-premises or your own cloud, absolutely. As you could see, it's easy yet powerful. There's no code to do a lot of the data warehousing functionality. Low code if you need to do some adjustments. And if you have very complicated data problems that you need to take advantage of full code, welcome. You can do full code with the functionality. There are a lot of data sources, more than 400, that there's no coding at all. You don't need to use. You just pull the data, select the tables, and bring to the data warehouse. It's very comprehensive list of systems: Sage, ADP, HubSpot, Salesforce, lots of data sources that have no code, and is AI powered. The DFT already mentioned that helps long-term modeling. And we also have DataSelf is 30 plus people strong. We have a lot of expertise in ERP, CRM systems, in data warehousing, Tableau, Power BI, many other tools, and we can help you make this BI journey start quickly and teach you to fish so you can become self-sufficient sooner than later. I'm not going to show this page, but you'll be receiving a copy of this PowerPoint, and if you want to learn more, for each of these systems, we have pretty good documentation showing what the out-of-the-box solution is and how it can be customized. What I showed, pretty much, it can be deployed once we have access to your system within a day. So once we get access to your system, pretty much tomorrow, you have your data warehouse provisioned with a bunch of modeling, a bunch of reports and dashboards. If you're using, Excel, Power BI, or Tableau, something like that. And the pricing is really tailored for small, mid, and large organizations. Pretty much, we look at what kind of size business you are, and we have tiers that you can get a lot of functionality that bigger companies pay more, but because you have small budgets, you can get similar functionality and pay a lot less. So the pricing is really tailored for small and medium-sized organizations out there. With that in mind, I'll bring Courtney back.
Hi, everyone. So, Joni just showed us a lot of information, great details. I've seen some comments out there. So there is a 15% offer for the first year of your DataSelf subscription for new customers if you get to that before, June 15th. So I've launched another poll, final poll, and if you just let us know if this is something you want to take advantage of, whether you've seen enough and you're like, yes, I want to take advantage of that 15% off, or, you're interested in the 15% off and would like to get a little bit more information, maybe have, that one-on-one conversation about your particular business scenario, your particular situation, and get a little bit more personalized information. So that poll is live. We'd love to hear from you, even if you don't want to take advantage of the offer. I just like to see when people respond to my polls. And then I think we're going to dive into Q&A now, correct? Awesome. So with that said too, answer the poll. And then as I just said in the chat, you can get those questions in now. We've had a couple questions come in throughout. So we're going to dive into those first, but you can still get a question put in. There's the Q&A section on this side. So get any questions in if you have them. And then Joni, are you ready for some Q&A?
Always.
Okay. Let me just pull up those questions I've got so far. So the first question I had from someone was, how long does it take to deploy a data warehouse to consolidate 5 Sage 100 companies?
5 Sage 100 companies. Good question. So typically, when we have what we call a multi-company framework, in this case would be 5 Sage 100 company databases. And the same concept applies if you have, Sage or Acumatica, NetSuite and whatnot. But anyhow, typically, we recommend to start with one company first. So my team and your team get to know each other and understands what the project is about, and we can get one company done more quickly and successfully. So that's usually a good recommendation. Most clients, they go through this process. In getting the first company, pretty much, once we have access to your system, tomorrow the system has been deployed with your data. It doesn't mean it's ready yet, because quite often there are customizations that must be addressed and tweaked in DataSelf, but pretty much next day people have access to the data warehouse. They can start seeing their data in, let's say, in a BI tool like Excel, Power BI, or Tableau. Then once this first company, you are happy that they have the system properly aligned with your metrics and is refreshing automatically, is running things fast. Then we discuss a strategy of how to bring the other companies, and the devil is in the details. Some organizations, they have all 5 companies with the same business model, with the same IDs, the chart of accounts, and the way that you operate is exactly the same. So it's fairly straightforward to consolidate them all together. Most of the time, this is not reality. Most of the times, different companies, different business models, different chart of accounts, different other customers. And usually, we have to assess and make, and decide. Usually I tell people that rarely we go, usually the effort is measuring days or weeks, usually days or weeks, unless you have very complicated models that can take months, but usually 5 companies, I would say 2 to 3 months is usually the time that it takes to do a very good consolidation for the average complexity of a multi-company system with 5 companies. So first company is pretty much tomorrow, and then make adjustments. 5 companies usually will come together automatically and all consolidated within a couple of months or so.
Okay, that's great to know. On the flip side of that coin, someone else asked us a question about Acumatica. So this person said, I have a large tables in my Acumatica, and some reports take over 30 minutes to run. How would a data warehouse help?
Performance issues. That's probably the number 2 reporting pains of why people knock on our door, complaining that, when they press a refresh button of a report, doesn't matter what the report is in Acumatica or in Excel or in Crystal reporting service, and it takes too long. Half an hour is kind of, way too long. Some companies, they actually can only run some reports outside of business hours because it can affect the performance of their, let's say, Acumatica in this case, or Sage, whatever it is. First of all, the main reason why you're having this issue is because ERP systems, all of them, the way that the data is captured is not optimized for getting reports in big chunks out of it. The data is optimized to get data in, to get your transactions in, to get your chart of accounts, to get your GL transactions issued quickly, your invoices, your purchase orders. So each transaction done efficiently into the system. If you have a lot of data and you try to get data out using regular tools like, Acumatica, GIs and whatnot, it can be a pain, it can be very slow. So with the data warehouse, we use the mirror step that I showed in yellow colors, that we take, let's say, your Acumatica data and we mirror it in the data warehouse. The first time, the mirroring step can take a while, hours, sometimes even days, if you have a lot of data. Our largest Acumatica client has 70, 80 million rows in their largest table, so it's pretty decent size. That's only one table, right? 70, 80 million rows. So the first step, the mirroring can take a while. After the first load, we have what's called a delta refresh, meaning after the first load, we only refresh what has changed since the last refresh. So even if you have large tables, every time we do a refresh again, let's say daily, hourly, every 5 minutes, we only bring the deltas. And that's usually only thousands of rows, and that's super fast. So now the data warehouse is mirroring your Acumatica in a certain frequency very quickly. And when you run your reports, you're pulling data out of the data warehouse, which is super fast. Again, the data warehouse has the DFT that transform these large data sets in a way that when you want to see your KPIs grouped by year, quarter, month, day, week, by customer, by chart of account, doesn't matter what you want. When you press the report to show me the data, you're not calculating things all over again every time you press the refresh button. You're just rendering the results of that query that was pre-done already in the data warehouse, and it renders in seconds. I know this is a long data geek's answer, and I'm a data geek. I love to go into the weeds of why this is so much faster. But rarely we have reports in DataSelf that take longer than 10 seconds to run. And with our clients, when you press the refresh, it takes too long. Call us, because sometimes we need to turn some dials in the data warehouse to guarantee that your reports will always run under 10 seconds. So if you convert those reports you have in Acumatica today into a DataSelf solution powered by data warehousing, and we have lots of Acumatica clients that came to us with those problems, and lots of Sage clients and whatnot, I guarantee you performance is no longer be an issue and is not going to affect your Acumatica performance at all.
That's huge. You know, no one likes to hit that button and go back every few minutes waiting and hoping it's finally loaded and you move on to other things. So, you know, that's sort of a question for me, actually. Could you talk a little bit about, you know, what's involved with learning the platform once it is, you know, implemented in there?
Yep. So the first good news is you speak English. And that's a big self-service benefit. Today we have a lot of self-service documentation, videos. In our website, Knowledge Base has an AI bot that sometimes or quite often we tell people, if you need to do something DataSelf and you don't know how, first go to our website, use the AI bot and just ask the question in plain English. You have to write in English, but if you ask the question in English, this AI bot's going to look at our specific, knowledge around data warehousing, ETL plus, Power BI, Excel, Tableau, and quite often it's going to give you the answer or breadcrumbs to the answer so you can find the solution. So AI nowadays is a big help. Second is our knowledge base also have self-service training. We have a lot of videos and classes that teach you how to do things. So feel free to use that. We also have in-person classes, and for those clients that want a human, a human intelligence, a human talking with them, walking through the topics, and usually focusing specifically around your needs and how the solution can do. So we absolutely have one-on-one classes that we can tailor around your needs and teach you to fish the way that you can absorb. In a nutshell, just give you, a more tangible, big picture scenarios. We have a small number of clients that once they got to DataSelf, we provision their licenses, we give them the license, the access, and they already kind of know data geeks. They already know this stuff, and they get access to the AI bots and the documentation. A small number of clients, they require zero support from us, zero training, because they can just do it, documentation. It's an amazing framework. They just run with it. So it's possible, absolutely, if you already have some kind of data wizardry in-house. On the opposite side, some clients, they have no bandwidth, they don't want to do, they are busy, and they want us to do everything for them. So true, some of our clients, we are their business analysts, they are their data warehousing people, we do everything for them. Most clients are between these two extremes. Most clients, we deploy the solution, we give you training, we show you the ropes, and after the initial training, they become self-sufficient. And many clients, they keep on calling us when they have more sophisticated needs, like, bringing more data from other systems and doing more modeling. So overall, training, a lot self-service. Nowadays with AI, you don't need to be trained. You go on demand as needed. You keep on learning things as needed. Self-service, again, videos and whatnot, and when needed, one-on-one classes on demand. On one-on-one classes, we have, if you are a regular business user, it's usually 2 hours training. If you are a report designer, usually we have kind of 10-hour training for more in-depth report designer. And if you need data warehousing training, it depends on how much you already know about data warehousing and how much you can use, the AI tools to make it easier. So training, usually these are the high-level topics, and if you need a one-on-one assessment specific to your case, we can talk with you and figure out, how to assist and what kind of training will be helping for you, will be effective for your needs.
Okay, that's great. It sounds like there is an approach for every type of learner. So lots of resources there. I think, I've got one, as we come up on time, I've got to do one more question. So if you're out there in the audience, you have a burning question, now's your final chance. And then, that poll is still open. We have that limited time 15% off offer. It does, have about a month-long limit. So I'd love to see, a couple more responses to that poll. So, Joni, I think the final, unless like I said, if there's a burning question out there, we'll make sure we cover it. But I think the final question I have for you today is, this question says, I'm using Snowflake for my data warehouse. Why should I consider DataSelf instead?
I love that kind of question because if you use Snowflake and you're here, you're probably not happy with something about Snowflake. And because I cannot ask you right now, that can be a long discussion. First of all, Snowflake is an amazing data warehousing platform. It's an amazing. They've been around for a long time. There's all sort of good reasons why people choose Snowflake and they're happy. Now, two main complaints that I hear people that come to us, and eventually many of them we switch them from Snowflake to DataSelf. One is cost. It's very common for Snowflake data warehousing to cost very little at the beginning, but once you are 1 year into your journey, it becomes extremely expensive, and you have no clue because their pricing model is kind of a little bit of a black box. I've never have an idea when I look at the pricing model. I always try to understand, and it's a little bit of a black box. And unfortunately, you only realize that it's expensive once you are neck deep into it. So pricing is the main reason why many people they come to us. Our pricing is usually significantly more affordable. And the second reason is because Snowflake is a proprietary platform. If it works for you, great. If you need some different ways to host your data in a different location, you might have compliance requirements. Many times they don't support. And our data warehouse framework is kind of a Lego block. You choose where and how you want to deploy the Lego blocks, and then there's more flexibility, and you're not chained to a vendor. You're not chained to our framework. Pretty much you can move Lego blocks, you can use different tools. And many times people move away from Snowflake to DataSelf because of the flexibility that our framework provides compared to theirs. Overall, I tell people, if you're a Fortune 2000 company with deep pockets, Snowflake is amazing. If you're a small, medium-sized company, most likely our framework is better priced and more flexible for your reporting needs. So I encourage you to contact us to discuss details and see if we are a better fit for your needs.
Okay, great. So with that, we're going to wrap up the Q&A, and we just want to say a quick thank you. So if between, our faces there, you can see that information, you can always reach us at info@swktech.com. We'd be happy to connect you with the team at DataSelf. They're great partners. We've been partners for a long time. So we'll quickly, make that connection for you. And then you can also visit us at swktech.com. You can find DataSelf on our website as well. And then as always, our social media accounts where you'll find this different content. So thank you everyone for taking some time out of your day, for being a part of the polls, for, really participating in the chat. It was great to hear from you all. And then thank you, Joni, for such a, informative presentation today and a bit of your time.
Courtney, always a pleasure. Really appreciate your time, and for all of you, thanks for watching, learning about DataSelf and data warehousing.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.